and welcome to the Oracle Report for the month of October 2025. Happy to have you here. I offer these intuitive reports every month towards the end of the month, and we do a live recording in the Sacred Lights Collective community. Anyone who's part of the community is welcome to join. It's free to join, by the way. Um, if you're able to, I encourage you to join live. Most of the time, this is offered on Sunday around, is usually the fourth Sunday of the month or the last Sunday of the month at 1 p.m. Eastern time. And for those who do join live, there is always an opportunity at the end of each Oracle report for me to pull a card for you or ask a question and have it answered, see what comes through. Um, so we also offer the recording on YouTube on both the Sacred Lights channel and my channel. And I just want to thank you from wherever you're watching and encourage you to like and subscribe. It really helps us out. It's a simple way just to return that energy for what is being shared here. Thank you. So if this is your first time, let me just tell you a little bit about what the Oracle Report is. So I come on here to share different collective wisdoms and messages that I've gathered from different places, sometimes through channeling, sometimes through dream messages, different themes that come forward in the readings that I'm doing throughout the month, sometimes astrology, and kind of pool all of these things together. And the intention always is for information to come through that will help guide and align you to your soul and your own rhythm for the month and working with the different collective energies for the highest good. So you can also go back and listen to past Oracle reports, even, not in live time. There's always some eternal wisdom that's shared in these Oracle reports and different things that you could be worked with. So you might feel a certain pull to one month or another and trust that and maybe listen in and see if anything comes through to you. Right now, I think we go back on YouTube, maybe I can't remember. There's probably like 6 or so videos on there, but within the Sacred Lights Collective, we go back a couple of years, I think, or at least 1 year. Time is weird. I can't remember exactly. But I will be working to upload those past videos to my own YouTube channel, Angela Soul Rose, so you can check those out there at some point. So I just encourage you to listen with an open mind and an open heart, receive what resonates, let go of anything that doesn't, with a sense of openness, because sometimes those messages, different energies, they might make sense later. And they can apply with different kind of percentages for us all. So maybe there's kind of like 10% of a message or a theme that's come through showing up in your life 1 month, and then for another message there's maybe like 80%. It's a little stronger and more present in your field. Sometimes they might kind of show up as you witnessing it out in the world or in another, but in any way it helps you kind of navigate the different energies. And I would say also it can be really fun to kind of compare to what your own intuition is for the upcoming month. Um, and sometimes with that, like someone else's perspective through their connection with the divine, we can start to clarify and filter our own intuition, our own relationships with the divine. All right. So each month I also pull a card for the collective, and in the last few I've been pulling this to start. So today we will be working with the Healing Waters or Oracle deck by Rebecca Campbell. And yeah, let's get started. I'll start with pulling a card. So for the month of October, into collective message for the highest good. Okay. Oh, I like this one. Cleansing, releasing the old, energetic tune-up, new beginnings. And this aligns to definitely to some of the messages that came through for this month. Go just show that off for a minute here before I read. Okay. Oh, cleansing. Water has been deeply associated with both physical and spiritual cleansing since ancient times. We use water to cleanse our day away as we bathe, and many of the world's faith traditions use water as a means of spiritual purification, from immersion in holy rivers to baptism and ritual baths. Pilgrims around the world journey to numerous sites for healing and cleansing qualities of their waters. The water in the grounds of Japan's Hongu Sengen Taisha, a Shinto shrine at the foot of the sacred Mount Fuji, is seen as both deeply holy and self-purifying. Flowing from the melting snow at the Volcano Mountain's summit, it forms washing pools that call people to them from both near and far. Many believe that these pools are very mystical and powerful. Local legend says that the depth of the pool waters magically changes according to the size of the person who enters them, adapting to the level of their submergence. While visiting the healing water sites of the world is an incredible thing to do, we don't need to travel to experience the healing and cleansing power of water for ourselves. You probably already use water in this way, although perhaps not consciously. As you shower or bathe, as you wash your hands, consider the water and call on it to support you by washing away what's coming to an end or is no longer in alignment, leaving space for what you'd like to birth anew. Okay. And the soul inquiry is what's no longer in alignment or coming to an end that you're ready to release. Yeah, so release was one of the big themes, or particularly adjusting to kind of the intensity that was shaken up in September and the shifts that might have happened for most people. uh, they say that it's already occurred, these shifts, but for others, there might still be shifts that are happening in the early weeks of October or the early days of October. And, maybe you don't notice any major shifts, but for a good percentage of people, there are some big liberations that have happened recently and some shedding that's taking place. Okay, so let's start off. I'll talk a little bit more about that as we go. So the overall cadence for the month of October, the first 2 weeks they're showing up as tension, charged, releasing, anger you might be seeing out in the world, intensity because of changes and shifting that's been happening. There's also a note that this might be stirring up fear, and kind of the healing message with it that was coming through is to trust your relationship with life and respect others. Um, More on that too to come. Mid-month in October, There's about a week or so where the guides talk about this energy of peace coming in. And we have actually the opportunity to step into that peace anytime through the month. And people will be ready at different times, some sooner than others. Some might be ready in like the second week of October, whereas others, it's more like almost the fourth. We all are processing different energies, so don't judge yourself or others depending on how long it might take you, but be open to processing what you need to process, releasing what you need to release in order to allow yourself to step into that peace. And some people, maybe they're just dipping a toe in to the peace, where others are really like full in. And in some of it's a choice, and some of it's just part of like where we're at, honoring where we're at, so we're in right relationship with these energies rather than trying to like push into peace if we're not really feeling it. There's different things we need to process first. If that's the case, they talk about being quiet, going within in order to process those things. um, Whereas on the other side of it, if we want to just kind of stay in tension and anger and the energy of conflict and division, that also could be not really in right relationship. And we're just sort of feeding more of that in the world rather than really coming to alignment within ourselves. And that could make it linger. And everybody, again, is going to have their own timing, their own rhythm. But kind of the importance is finding alignment within your own rhythm and finding the balance. Um, they talk about the end of October. A lot of new energies have kind of settled. They show me this settled energy. Um, and then there's also a preparation for like the next layers of shifts and changes that are coming. Um, it's sort of like the end of October, we're wrapping up some of the adjustments and the readjustments that have just been made. So right now is sort of at the end of September, where when I'm recording, we've had a lot of intensity shaken up and some rearranging, realignments, and beginning of October is more about adjustment. This was a major word that was used, adjustment, adjustment. But as we come towards the end of October, a lot of those adjustments or readjustments have settled a little bit for now. And then we're starting to prepare for kind of, yeah, the next phases of what will be shifting and growing within us and within the collective. Yeah. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go through kind of the list now. That's kind of the general cadence of the month. First 2 weeks, intensity, conflict, anger, tension. Third week, peace. Last week, readjusted, settling in, getting ready for the next phase. Okay, so to go into the conflict energies first. So I mean, it's no secret, really. I'm sure everyone can see examples of the conflict in the collective that are out in the world. Um, but this conflict energy has been really like stirred up and brought to the surface in this most recent kind of like download of transformation that we're going through. And the guides want to mention that there's a lot of shifting going on that we don't necessarily see. Like, as humans, our eyes are often on the physical world, and that is necessary. It's a good thing. Yet also, it's really important to remember that there's a lot more going on than meets the eye, always. And the easiest way for us to know more about that is uh, tuning in, going within, working through our own relationship with the divine to find our way and find our truth and find the truth and get clarity. Um, so in this kind of conflict and division energy, there's also something that's arising with boundaries. Um, the guides gave kind of three words with this. They said boundaries, right responsibility, and respect. And these are kind of the places that we can start to work with the energy that's been stirred up. So again, it's kind of presenting as conflict and division for us to work with. However, there's just so much more going on spiritually, and we're shifting. There's soul growth happening for everyone right now. Um, okay, so in terms of boundaries, there might be conflicts that's stirred up that we don't need to engage with. And that's one of the boundaries that they were mentioning, is being able to set that for yourself. And also what was being shared is that we don't always need to announce our position. And they talk about it being more helpful to look within. And especially as we start getting to that peace week, that will be a really kind of excellent way to be in order to allow that energy to flow for you, the peace energy to flow for you the way it's meant to, for you to be kind of a beacon of that as well, by taking that step forward with peace energy yourself. So looking within in order to develop that. Um, yeah, okay. And in terms of right responsibility, they spoke of this in the way that maybe there are things, again, that we don't need to respond to, we don't need to engage with, and maybe there are things that we should respond to and should engage with. And then if that is the case, the question is how to respond or engage. Or I guess, how to respond sometimes also is don't respond. Um, but finding our right place with that in order to know how to work with what's being stirred up within and on the outside with the conflict energy and division and anger and tension. Like, what do we need to clear from ourselves? What do we need, and also looking at what am I feeding through my response, my engagement with these energies and other people or different situations. Is it really what feels true to me or not? But taking a good look at that. And they talk about the field being just like, well, first they said very disturbed. There's like a disturbance energy in the field. But there's just like a lot of waves, a lot of kind of clutter and discordance. And if we're keeping our focus too much on the out there, it's going to clutter our own clarity. And not that we shouldn't be focused outward at times, we do need to. But there's not one answer for everyone, and there's not one answer for us. It's situational, it's moment by moment, and the way that we find the answer of how to be in right responsibility is within us. So through our gnosis, through looking within and finding, okay, like what resonates, what feels right for me in my movement here. And then the next piece they're talking about is respect. And this is intertwined with with the conflict division energy, with the boundaries, and with right responsibility. And first, this is like respect for ourselves and respect for our own sovereign connection to the divine, and then respect for others and respect for their right to have their connection to the divine and their different beliefs and their different emotions. And yes, like one of the ways that this informs right responsibility that they were talking about is that Oh, well, one thing is they're saying don't kind of going back to the four agreements, if you've read that book or if you know of those, don't take things personally because of this energy that's been stirred up, this division, anger, tension, conflict, division, that we're all working with. We all are working with it in different ways. It can be easy to start to kind of like point fingers and or have fingers pointed at us and feel kind of like heavy about some of that, or just start questioning like, am I good? Or am I doing the right thing? Did I find right responsibility or not? It gets like tricky. And one of the things they're discussing that would be a helpful remembrance during the month of October, maybe especially in the first 2 weeks, is this not taking things personally and having respect for another's journey. Because if we get kind of too caught up in taking things personally or blaming others, even, um, then we we start to get a little hazy in what really is our right place to be with everything. And what is kind of most important in this, that um, the guides were sharing, is our sovereign relationship with the divine. And I kept talking about coming back to the quiet, coming back to the wisdom that's within to help guide you instead of getting too caught up in the outer world. And that's always a helpful concept, but maybe especially so in October, especially so as things get kind of tense and the conflict and division energy starts to rise. You just come back to like what unites us and what is my truth here. And then, excuse me, also thinking about what you're feeding through your responses and through your respect of others' path or not. Are you contributing to hate? Are you contributing to love? And like really kind of dialing that down, but just for yourself, like giving some space about judging other people for that. Unless it's feeling, and not unless, because it's not really about judgment, but sometimes we are called to kind of share our perspective about something. Maybe there is something that you feel called to reflect for another person who might be in hate or love. And that's not judgment so much, But when we get into the place of like, they did this, or it feels like victimy, or like they're wrong and they're bad, and um, that can start to muddy up the field and throw you out of alignment. Okay, a little more on that in a minute, but let's just move on to this next piece first. Okay, so this is kind of what connects to the card that came forward too. There's this next message was about respecting death, respecting like actual death, when someone dies, and not just a human, but all of life, because death is throughout our world and it's happening all the time, just as birth is happening all the time. Uh, and the importance of respecting that process and and, and and not fearing it as well. And there was this other word that they used, was not dramatizing death, um, because that can actually get us entrenched in some sticky places where our clarity isn't fully online, where we might be kind of stuck in fear or grief, or like we need to go through those emotions, but they're emotions. they're in motion, so we're supposed to move through them, ride them like waves rather than kind of tumbling and getting lost in them. And sometimes we see that in respecting death, maybe need to, like, there's this dramatization was the word that I heard that can happen. And that actually can get us stuck. So they called to take a look at that, or just even notice it to see if that's happening out in the world. And again, you don't always have to say something or do something about it, but understanding that process and maybe just being um, a beacon of holding right relationship with death and respecting death will support others who are maybe leaning into that dramatization or just like, oh, death, um and again, not that I don't honor death by saying that, like, I actually deeply respect death, and it's quite complex, you know and I always love listening to those near death experiences that folks share. Just like encoded within them is the beauty and the love that is part of us all, but is in death. And I mean, every single one has that element. Every single NDE that I've heard the story of reflects that back to us. And in my relationship to death, that's pretty solid for me. And not that we don't go through the grief or we don't, um, you know, have a human process with loss that's very real. But if we allow ourselves to kind of mm, dramatize, it's almost like limiting us. It's almost getting us stuck there. Um, so there's also in this message, it's like respecting not just the big deaths, but the small deaths and the ways that we're shedding and letting go and releasing. So this is how it kind of connects to the card that came up. And um, they were talking about how there is a gift of liberation in death. And this is very clear in the NDEs as well. But in the little deaths that happen in us, like, what inside of me am I letting go of? And how can I honor that and respect that process and trust it? And yeah, it's just like being a midwife to ourselves and the little deaths that happen within us. And then as we can show up for ourselves, maybe we're showing up on a bigger scale too, for the world, and being able to trust death and honor it and respect it, the process of death that happens in our world, and not let it throw us out of our center of alignment and our relationship with the divine and with love and the deepest truth, which is that, which is love, which is truth, which is that is eternal. And still we show up to death and we let it shape us and transform us, and we be willing to shed so we can allow that liberation and expansion to come through. But it's a living process, it's like we can't kind of think our way through it. We can't go the logical route so much. These are gifts of the goddess, the death, rebirth, and transformation. So these happen in like extra dimensional realities, and they're not something that's like, okay, you do this and you do that and you do that. You can look at it that way. However, it's a multi-dimensional process, and it's an energetic process. And in death and in birth and transformation, there's always this moment of just like cracked open, the shedding, the letting go, the height of it that allows the death to complete and to find that liberation, that allows the birth to come through, finding that heightened state of joy and love. And that's what's possible. um, I heard this one piece as I was channeling about this. It's just a one-liner: in death and decay, I am okay. And there's something about that remembrance and something about the process of death and birth and transformation that often we start to question, like we jump into the fear, we jump into the chaos, and we lose our sense of being okay in the universe, in God, in Goddess, in Source. And that is necessary, right? And then we come back to always that we are okay. And sometimes that takes a while. But they talk about this being a theme, and there's an invitation here to kind of look at like what the adjustment is in your life. What are you letting go of? And honor to what you can't see that's readjusting within your energy field, and what's being let go in this kind of communal, collective death energetic process that's been initiated. Um, there's like the big process that's occurring here because of the intense times that we're in, and then there's little ones within that. And there's one that we just went through with the eclipses, and within September that was a little heightened, and they're talking mostly about that smaller one, but about it all, because this is a way to work with these times. Okay, so to talk a bit about the peace, the question was coming forward of where can you call upon peace within yourself, within your life. What space can you make to allow yourself to receive more of that? Where can you lean into it a little bit more? How can you invite it in, magnetize it and receive it? And they came back to, with this concept of peace, the importance of trusting another's journey, trusting your own journey and your own way of moving and co-creating with both this material world and other humans and the divine. And that comes back to that kind of respect concept that is helping us orient to this energy of conflict and division that's very heightened. Um, And this is what they say, like, or one of the aspects that will help us lean into peace, to help us create space for that in ourselves. And as we do that, what we're doing in the energetic field of reality is creating space for others to also lean into peace. So as we do that work, it's easier for others. And we don't even necessarily even have to do anything out in the world to create actually big changes. I saw like butterfly wings flapping and then creating the ripples when I said this, the idea of the butterfly effect, that many times we don't recognize how much we contribute just by being. And really, a lot of the work that we need to do in the world isn't like, hey, I need to like get this degree or like write this book or, um, you know, change this policy. A lot of the times, it's actually just internal work. um, the external is a part of that, but mm, it shows up like as we do the internal work, and our internal work has just such a magnificent effect on our world. And it's really hard to see from our human perspective. Um, so this was something they were kind of pointing out that we can do, is just honor how much us choosing peace can start to change the world, and believe in it. Because as we believe in that, we start to create that as a reality in the world, and we start to hold stronger energy for others to step into peace. Okay. So, with this piece, energetic, another aspect that was talked about that I mentioned a bit so far, but coming back to here, is to make sure, and this is uh, another thing that I heard like a couple of lines with this. It's a little bit poetic. But the first one was make sure the connection with the divine is mine or thine, depending if you're saying it to yourself. The connection with the divine is mine. So, coming back to that sovereign relationship with the divine and trusting your place in the web of life and your ability to create peace through just owning that and letting it guide you, letting your intuition and that relationship with the divine guide you, and believing that in that the power of that, and trusting whatever your place is in the web of life, and not feeling like I've got to fight this or I'm afraid of this. That's actually all we need to be safe, to be held. We are held, and kind of claiming our sovereign relationship with the divine remembers that within our energy, that we are divine children, that we are light. Okay, I'm gonna just say this little poem that came through in connection with this understanding of our sovereignty and our relationship with the divine. I set the tone, I set the pace. It is me through time and space. Without and within, I am free, dancing through all eternity. Calm are my fears, death I embrace. I am here, I am safe, held through my connection to light. I claim divinity in my own right. Okay, that's it. And I'll probably write that out too in case anyone wants to say it themselves at some point. So I'll post that in the Sacred Lights Collective. Um, yeah, it was sweet little kind of prayer invocation for our sovereignty, for that remembrance. Okay. Oh, yeah. This next piece. This one kind of just popped out of left field. I don't even totally see how it integrates into the whole, but um, maybe as it connects to death a bit. But this was a message about new ways to be with growing older. Yeah, I guess that does quite connect with death because there is such a, in the kind of false, I would call it, matrix of energy in our world, this really strong value for youth and uh, a lack of value for those who age and what their place is or what our place is as we age. Um, and this difficulty with that. And I believe that at least one of the reasons we have difficulty with that, and we've created like all of these energetic structures and physical structures and things that are sold and bought, um, beliefs and emotions around aging is really connected to death and the fear of death, and then also our worth, and the fear around not being seen, not having value. But as we start to work with our relationship with death, some of that can start to shift. And what was shared with this is just being open, there wasn't really a whole lot of information, but open to new ways of your relationship with growing older and with the collective relationship with growing older, no matter like what you see going on out there, because there's a lot going on. But how can you center the value in yourself first, no matter what age you are, young or old, and have that carried through? And no matter if someone is reflecting to you like, oh, you're amazing because you're this age, or you're not amazing because you're this age, um, like staying centered in your own worth and your own value, which is inherent. Um, no matter what you've done or who you are, even. And people don't like hearing that sometimes because, we have this kind of sense of justice, and that exists. There is divine justice, but I think it's a little different than we often interpret it as humans. It's like God isn't out to punish others, even when they are harming. And things are only allowed to take place if we've decided that on a soul level in terms of harm, um, for the purpose of love, really, for the purpose of being able to grow in our awareness of it. And okay, I'm sleeping around here. um, yeah, so claiming our own inherent value. We all have it, no matter what. So don't start going into your mind about that, about like, oh, I've done this or I haven't done this, whether that's like on the side of that proves your worth or that takes away your worth. It's just there. And you are the only person who can hold it, who can claim it. Um, and that really is a process of remembering. It happens in your soul, really. It's not in your mind. It's even though we work with our mind, we work with our emotions, we work with our human energy system and as a vessel, um, to remember, to bring enlight, enlightenment, light to aspects of our consciousness, of our own soul, this remembering that's happening. But part of that happens through this claiming of our worth, our sovereignty, our sovereign connection with the divine. Now we are worthy no matter what, that we can never lose our love. And this goes back to the death piece, because some of the fear that's surrounding it, surrounding death in any way, is that we could lose. We can't truly, even though we will experience loss. A lot of us come to Earth to be able to have that experience because we can't so much have that experience in the spirit world. Okay. And last little bit here, this was just kind of diving back into um, the conflict energy that has come forward in our collective to be worked, and judgment in particular as like a consequence or result of the conflict energy. So judgment mm, is different than discernment. I see discernment as finding clarity, finding what feels true, loving, right? Um, whereas judgment often gets kind of into these places of exacerbating conflicts. That person is right or wrong. I'm either gonna, line up with them or push them away. And sometimes it can create like it's like yucky energy in our field, for lack of a better way to say it. It's a powerful energy too, so that goes out. Um, Judgment can come towards us, or we can put it out in the world. And there's a call for like more right responsibility with what we're putting out, and also what's coming in. So what's coming in, maybe we're working with the don't take things personally, clearing our energy on a daily basis, and listening to our truth within, so we don't let any of that judgment start to kind of weigh us down or get us into deep places of doubt about ourselves and what we know is true. So staying connected to our intuition helps us be like, oh, okay, no, actually, this is my truth. This is where I'm at. And thank you for that information or judgment, whether it's verbally shared or it's just out in the energy. And also, as we stay connected to our intuition, we'll be more aware of what judgments are coming at us that aren't said. But we always feel them, and they're always there. And a lot of times, if we don't acknowledge them or we're not aware of these judgments coming at us, we can have kind of distorted responses to them ourselves because we feel, something is there. It's like, okay, uh, but you don't know what it is. You can't place it. So it's just there, like affecting you. And that might affect your relationship with your kids or with like your coworkers, or start to change how you're expressing something about yourself or how you're viewing yourself. But as you become more aware of it, then you can like, oh, okay, yeah, clear it out. Do I agree with that? What do I want from that? Is it helpful for me? Is it not? Don't let it throw you off of your worth and your value. You stay centered in that and you figure out how to respond to it, clear it out. Because when we're not aware of it, that judgment can, yeah, start to really affect you. And it especially affects your creative energy. Um, as I've been told, I don't really know why. This is something that I've heard from the guides that judgment's a powerful energy that can start to affect our creativity and our creative expression in the world. And this isn't just like excuse me, painting a picture. This is like our co-creation with life. Um, so there's an element in this too, going back to boundaries and being mindful of how much you decide to share with the world. And it's going back to that message before of like, I don't always need to announce my position to the world. Um, some people might have some really serious judgment, and you kind of don't need more energy to have to clear or work with sometimes. Sometimes that's helpful and in service, but if it's throwing you too off or it's like too much to clear in your field, then it can start to not really be in service and in alignment. And sometimes this is a natural boundary that's being formed, a natural redirection maybe that's being formed, or a readjustment. And that's okay. You can trust where life is guiding you. So all you really need to find is the truth within you that guides you there. Like, do I say this? You come to that place of mindfulness and should I be sharing this here? Is it in service? Or am I going to hold that deeper truth to myself? Or am I just going to work with it for a while until I feel clear and strong enough on what I want to do with it or how I want to share it, who I want to share it with? Um, so, yes. And like watching our own judgments of others too. I think, maybe not everyone, but I really do think that we all judge to a certain extent. I think it's inherent in our world right now with humanity. And it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it can be kind of shifted. So you're more in that discernment category where this power of judgment is just looking at different things. But the discerning usually comes from a place of worth and safety and sovereignty that develops more clarity. Whereas when we're in the like dramatization and victim and injustice and the like bad or wrong aspect of judgment, which is part of like the definition, um, then that starts to get heavier and actually haze our field more. Um, so, yeah, mindfulness. Where am I at? Am I discerning? Do I feel like calm and centered and safe as I'm thinking about this? Am I just finding my own alignment? And if the field feels hazy, that's okay. It's like then we give ourselves space. What do I need in order to find that clarity? Maybe I just need like a few moments of quiet, some meditation, or it's like self love or a walk outside in nature. Nature's amazing for helping us realign. Okay. And then just one more piece that came through with this is um, respecting different viewpoints. And I heard specifically people with different viewpoints can um, live and love, love and respect each other still, but own our different perspectives and align with what is right for us without always needing to like point out and judge. Like there is a way to find the harmony within that all. And in this, they talked about how like we all have different perspectives, and this is for a purpose. We're meant to have our perspective. And this concept of respecting others' perspective really needs to be centered in us respecting our own perspective first, not in conflict with or divided with others, but as an integral part of the whole. And we're learning how to do that. It's a little messy. But we really only have to do our own work in all of this and knowing our right place, knowing our perspective, and allowing it to shift and change and shed what isn't really working in that anymore because we are living beings, we are living light. And our journey of life is life. It's a life, right? So it's in movement. And we're not just like stuck in one perspective our whole life. It's in motion. And there's an unchanging kind of force in that all, which is your light and your soul and the love that will never go away. And that's where we stay centered. And sometimes even in that can enjoy the ride, enjoy what is our mission to fulfill here, what is our place within the web. Okay, so that is it for today. I thank you so much for tuning in. Again, would be so helpful no matter where you're watching from if you would like and subscribe on both the Sacred Lights channel and my personal channel, Angela Soul Rose. This really helps us a lot. And I will post a picture and the full description of the card here on the Sacred Lights Collective. Also always available there to hear how these different messages land for you. I love hearing people's different stories on how these themes may have shown up for them. It's really fun for me. So doors open there. And of course, if you have any questions, always happy to hear from you. So happy October, everyone. And I will see you next month.